We're going to kick off this video in a slightly unusual way today. Rather than just sitting back and listening to me talk, I'd like you to participate in a quick exercise. It won't take more than half a minute of your time. Go ahead and grab a pen and paper, or if you prefer, just keep a tally in your head. Make sure you remember your final count, as it's important. I want to see how many times you answer yes to these 10 specific questions. Are you ready? Let's jump in and begin. Okay. Are we finished with the exercise now? What was your final score from the questions? Personally, I found myself saying yes to numbers 1, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Drop your result in the comments section below and let me know where you stand. Be totally honest with yourself. No judgment here. If you answered yes to 4 or more, then I'd like to welcome you to the community of hyper-aware individuals. Right now, a major question is probably swirling in your mind, creating a whirlwind of thoughts. Is it actually healthy to perceive everything with such intense clarity, with every detail amplified? If your brain is constantly decoding every tiny detail into a web of hidden implications, until you're totally burnt out and exhausted, should you try to think less? Should you notice less? Perhaps just let things pass by? Or should you care less about every little thing? But then, if you act like you don't see it and stop gauging the environment, what if you accidentally insult someone with a clumsy remark? What if you become socially clumsy, saying something inappropriate, and everyone around you starts judging you silently or openly? Do you see what just occurred in that rapid thought spiral? That entire messy sequence of questioning, overanalyzing, and making assumptions. And then criticizing yourself is the trademark struggle of the hyper-aware group. On the flip side, if you listen to that and thought, good grief, why make life so complicated? Just take people at face value. That sounds exhausting and unnecessary. Then you belong to the other camp, the world of the relaxed people. I am a textbook hyper-aware person, constantly perceiving and processing. So today I want to dive deep into this subject with you, exploring every facet. If I have the ability to see through everything, how am I supposed to actually live a normal life? I'm talking about this because I've been in your shoes, walking a similar path. I have hit the wall, suffered burnout, feeling completely depleted, and completely depleted my energy because my psychological radar was constantly on high alert. However, I've now reached a point where I'm living quite well with this somewhat irritating superpower. My name is Nori, and today I'm acting as a voice for all those souls who can't seem to stop their thoughts. As we explore this topic through 3 primary lenses, gaining different perspectives. First, we'll look at the origins of hyper-awareness and whether it truly matters in the grand scheme. Second, we'll examine why the modern world makes hyper-awareness so punishing, especially for the mental and emotional health of young people today. Finally, by the conclusion of this video, I will offer 3 strategies to help you manage and direct your hyper-awareness. These strategies are practical and actionable, designed for real-world application. Ready to start this insightful journey with me? Let's go and delve into the depths of hyper-awareness. To begin, we need to clarify one specific, often misunderstood point about hyper-awareness. Many people assume that the capacity to read others, like immediately sensing everyone's mood upon entering a room, is simply a sign of high emotional intelligence, often referred to as EQ. From an outside perspective, this interpretation certainly looks accurate and even desirable. However, anyone living with this daily knows it isn't just a gift or a simple positive trait. It functions more like a high-tech scanner that, unfortunately, completely lacks a power switch. This internal scanner is perpetually active when you're at school, constantly processing. It's scanning when you're at the office, picking up on every subtle dynamic. It's active when you're texting, overanalyzing every punctuation mark and emoji. During staff meetings, it meticulously dissects every facial expression and tone of voice. It's even scanning while you're out with friends, trying to ensure everyone is comfortable. On a date, it's working overtime, attempting to predict every possible outcome. And even when you're staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, it continues its relentless analysis. This scanner analyzes other people, their subtle cues, and their unspoken intentions. It analyzes the vibe of the entire room, sensing shifts in atmosphere and energy. And then, inevitably, it pivots to analyze you as well, your own reactions and perceived flaws. The big mystery, then, is why humans even possess this odd, ceaseless scanning mechanism. The explanation is buried deep within our species' long and arduous history of survival. Let's be realistic. From a purely biological standpoint, humans are quite vulnerable creatures. We don't possess the formidable tiger claws for defense or hunting. We lack the incredible velocity of a cheetah to outrun predators. Nor do we have the sheer, intimidating bulk of an elephant to deter threats. A tiger is a solitary and potent hunter, perfectly equipped for independent survival. But if a prehistoric human became isolated from their tribe, it was essentially a death sentence. In the vast, untamed wilderness, we were far too slow and defenseless to survive on our own. Consequently, the most vital survival tool our ancestors possessed wasn't physical strength. It was, in fact, the profound capacity for social cooperation and unity. To thrive within a group, you absolutely had to be skilled at interpreting the group's nonverbal cues. You needed to know who was frustrated and potentially disruptive, who felt intimidated and might need protection or reassurance, and, crucially, who was planning a betrayal that could endanger everyone. In those ancient times, a scowl or an awkward silence wasn't just about social popularity. It was, quite literally, a life-or-death signal that demanded immediate attention. If the entire tribe was on edge, and you were still cracking jokes, as if nothing was wrong, you'd quickly be disliked, and your status within the group would plummet. If the community grew wary of you and you failed to notice or adapt, you risked being cast out, a terrifying prospect in that harsh world. In the prehistoric world, being excluded from the group wasn't like being blocked on social media today. It usually meant swift and certain demise. You simply wouldn't survive alone. So, over countless generations, our brains internalized a harsh, undeniable truth. The message was clear. If you want to stay alive, you must remain incredibly observant. What we currently define as hyper-awareness is really just the remnant of an ancient instinct. It's a deeply ingrained drive to scan our social surroundings for any potential threats or opportunities. This trait, once crucial for survival, used to be incredibly beneficial for our species. A child, for instance, had to read their parents' moods to ensure their immediate safety and well-being. A teenager had to adeptly read their peers to avoid social isolation and maintain group acceptance. Without this innate ability, humans would have struggled much more to form essential bonds and collaborate effectively. Therefore, don't swiftly dismiss your powerful tendency to pick up on minor subtle details. This isn't a glitch in your system, nor is it a sign of weakness or flaw. It doesn't mean you're losing your mind just because you tend to overthink situations. At its core, this hyper-awareness is a profound superpower. A superpower that prevented our ancestors from facing extinction. The trouble starts when this scanner is forced into overdrive by the modern world. In the past, our ancestors only needed to monitor a small tribe of maybe 30 people sitting around a campfire. Today, however, we are thrust into a landscape overflowing with signals. Group threads, social media feeds, messages that share as read but get no reply, and digital reactions that feel heavy with subtext. Your ancient high-definition scanner is now being tasked with processing a staggering volume of ambiguous data. Data that it was never designed for. This is where the superpower transforms into a snare. If someone sends a text saying, "okay," without an emoji, your internal alarm goes off. If your partner is quiet for a few seconds too long, the alarm rings again. If your supervisor messages you saying, "stop by my office for a moment later," your brain immediately generates a file of every possible disaster scenario. Minor bits of data are gathered, blown out of proportion, and woven into a narrative of dread. You think something is wrong. I've made a mistake. They're going to dump me. In the timeline of human evolution, we have reached a point where awareness, the very thing meant to keep us safe, is starting to work against us. This is precisely why professions like psychology and therapy are seeing record demand. Terms like overthinking and stress have gone completely viral. Perhaps a few decades ago, hyper-awareness was merely a minor personal quirk. But today, fueled by technology, it has grown into a full-blown psychological storm. So, for the Gen Z and millennial viewers, are you mentally prepared to continue exploring the crisis facing your generation? Let's be honest, even in the past, this scanner was exhausting. But at least it functioned within a confined group. You only had to track a few dozen familiar faces. You knew your parents' quirks and understood your best friend's habits. The game was challenging, but the rules were somewhat predictable because you had clear context. Today's environment is fundamentally different. Once we enter the digital realm of social media and endless notifications, we are no longer part of just one tribe. We are members of dozens of different tribes simultaneously. This chaos converts your superpower into three incredibly draining psychological traps. Invisible prisons that gradually sap the mental energy of our generation every single day. Trap number 1. Excessive signals with zero context. In digital communication, we lose roughly 90% of the nonverbal information we usually rely on, such as vocal inflection and eye contact. All you're left with are cold, static words on a glowing screen. Because of this, your hyper-aware radar starts spinning out of control in those blank spaces. Someone replies with a short "yeah," and you feel a chill. Someone leaves you on red without responding, and you feel discarded. A friend mentions they're busy, and your brain translates that into "they're tired of me." When context is missing, your mind instinctively fills the void with worst-case stories. Even though nothing has actually changed in reality, inside your head, you've already directed a feature-length tragedy where you are the victim of abandonment. Trap number 2. Social media turns your awareness into a constant comparison. In the old days, if you wanted to know what someone thought of you, you had to actually see them, talk to them, and observe their body language. Now, you can sit alone in your bedroom and still feel the weight of the entire world's judgment. You upload a photo and obsessively monitor the likes. You post a status and analyze every single comment. You share a story and track who watched it, who skipped it, who saw it first, and who viewed it but didn't leave a reaction. Everything is treated as data for analysis. For an average person, social media is stressful enough. But for someone who is hyper-aware, it's like throwing fuel on a bonfire. You don't just see the post, you look for the hidden meaning behind the post. Your brain doesn't just see content, it sees a labyrinth of subtle slights and exclusions. This leads to trap number 3, the pressure to manage your digital persona 24/7. In the real world, a hyper-aware person already monitors themselves heavily. You say one thing and immediately wonder if you sounded strange. You stay quiet for a moment and worry that people think you're being cold. On social media, that self-policing is amplified exponentially. Gradually, a young person stops truly living and starts performing the act of living. Going out for dinner becomes a question of whether the lighting is good for a photo. Hanging out with friends becomes a quest to post something that makes you look happy, but not like you're bragging. If you're sad, you have to be sad in a way that doesn't seem toxic. If you're happy, you have to be happy in a way that doesn't seem annoying. Success needs to look effortless, and failure needs to look like a learning moment. Hyper-aware people are even more prone to getting stuck on this stage, because they feel like hundreds of invisible critics are watching their every move. Even though most people are actually focused on themselves, what is the ultimate toll you pay for this? Protection starts to replace presence. Initially, you analyze things to shield yourself, to anticipate pain before it arrives. That sounds logical, right? But if you are constantly living in a state of bracing for a blow that might never land, you are no longer present in the current moment. You're out with friends, but you're too busy scanning everyone's facial expressions. You're sitting with your partner, but you're preoccupied with whether they seem slightly more distant than they were yesterday. Your life slowly transforms into a risk management operation. Everything has to be scrutinized and guarded against. Spontaneity vanishes. Carefreeness fades away. And your capacity to trust others disappears right along with them. Young people today aren't burnt out because they lack resilience. They are exhausted because after every single interaction, their brain holds a mandatory debriefing. Inside your mind, there is a permanent courtroom session where you are simultaneously the defendant, the defense attorney, and the presiding judge. Hyper-awareness in our modern era tortures us not because it's inherently bad, but because an ancient survival instinct is being overwhelmed by an environment that is far too noisy and offers too little genuine security. Your scanner never gets a moment of peace, from your physical life to your digital one. If you don't learn how to regulate it, you might eventually realize that while you know a lot and see a lot, you no longer have the energy to actually enjoy your own life. So, how do you maintain your sensitivity without letting that sharpness bleed you dry? How do you domesticate this radar and return it to its helpful function? This is where we need the 3 survival strategies I'm about to outline. Now, where do we go from here? Does this mean we should strive to be less observant, less thoughtful, or less empathetic? No, definitely not. This scanner isn't your enemy. It served as a vital survival skill for our ancestors. And today, if it's properly conditioned, it can still be a magnificent asset. It can help you understand others, feel the energy of a room, build deep connections, and offer your own unique perspective. The goal isn't to shut it down. The goal is to learn how to drive it. I'm going to suggest 3 very actionable paths. Direction 1. Distinguish facts from interpretations. This is the fundamental skill for any hyper-aware individual. What typically wears you out isn't the event itself, but the narrative your brain constructs around that event. The fact is, your boss messaged, "Stop by my office when you're finished." The interpretation is, "I'm probably getting fired." The solution is to stick strictly to what you observed. The next time your internal radar starts blaring, take a deep breath and tell yourself, "The only factual information I have is that my boss wants to talk to me, period." Whether something negative is about to happen or whether your boss is frustrated is something you simply do not know yet. Do not weaponize your sensitivity against yourself. When you feel your body tightening up, don't jump to the conclusion that a catastrophe is imminent. Just note, "I'm noticing tension in my body right now." That's it. That simple observation is powerful. It creates a tiny buffer between you and your spiral of thoughts. That small gap is where your peace of mind begins to grow. Direction 2. Redefine social media as a powerful tool for truly contributing genuine value to the world. Social media is an environment that often drains a hyper-aware person's battery the fastest, sometimes without them even realizing it. This happens because you're frequently using it as a reflective mirror to see how others perceive you and your life. The way out of this draining cycle is to consciously flip your perspective, changing your entire approach. Don't use social media purely to seek external validation. Instead, actively use it to provide genuine helpful value to others. Treat it like a powerful megaphone for sharing your unique insights, your creative ideas, and your authentic personality. That, truly, is the entire point of engaging in these digital spaces when you are hyper-aware. The golden rule is to completely stop trying to win absolutely everyone over or please every single person. Just share what you honestly believe is helpful, speaking in your own genuine voice and unique style. If someone respectfully disagrees with you, engage them in a thoughtful and open conversation. If someone simply doesn't like you or your perspective, acknowledge the difference in opinion and graciously move on. Never compromise your true self, your core values, or your authenticity to fit the crowd's fleeting expectations. Keep this essential truth in mind. You are only truly free and unburdened when you are completely comfortable being yourself. At that stage, social media transforms into a tool that genuinely serves your goals and aspirations. It ceases to be a restrictive cage that dictates or manipulates your emotions and self-worth. Direction 3. Be highly selective with your inner circle and establish clear, firm emotional boundaries. Because you possess the unique ability to see into people's hearts and minds so easily, it's very easy to become a dumping ground. You become the unofficial emotional dumping ground for everyone you know, absorbing their burdens. It seems that everyone who is struggling or facing challenges inevitably comes to you for help and support. But listen very closely to this crucial point. Being able to understand someone profoundly doesn't mean you have to absorb their pain. Seeing a flaw or a struggle in someone's life certainly doesn't mean it's immediately your job to fix it for them. You are not the designated therapist or the universal problem solver for the entire world, nor should you be. Instead, seek out a few small, genuinely safe tribes or communities where you feel truly accepted. Perhaps this could be your family, if those relationships are healthy and provide genuine support. Or it might be a few trusted, empathetic friends who truly understand and respect your boundaries. Find a community that genuinely shares your core values, where you don't feel the constant need to perform or impress. These are places where you aren't forced to second-guess every interaction or constantly decode hidden subtext all day long. These should be the sacred spaces where you feel completely safe saying, "I'm utterly drained today, and I don't want to analyze anything." You absolutely need people in your life who allow your nervous system to fully relax and calm down when you're around them. Absorbing the emotional weight of every single room you enter is a profound phenomenon that eventually exhausts your hidden reserves. This heightened awareness of the world is a magnificent but heavy gift that requires deliberate boundaries to protect your energy. You do not need to apologize for stepping back when the noise of the world becomes entirely overwhelming to process. It is perfectly safe to retreat into your silence and let other people handle their own unspoken emotional burdens today. What is one simple boundary you could create tonight to give your exhausted nervous system a momentary chance to breathe? If this resonated with you, I gently invite you to share your chosen boundary in the quiet space below. May you finally give yourself the exact same grace and deep understanding that you so effortlessly offer to everyone else.